Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in this episode, it's gonna be another day in the life video. I actually had my friends come and visit me for the last 5 days. As you can imagine, while they're here, I didn't play that much poker. Current status of where we're at for this 2-month trip, now up a total of $3,200 because last video, as you guys saw, I made a little bit of money. If you hadn't seen that video, go back and give it a watch. I'd appreciate that. At the end of this video, there's going to be a session that I play later on today. I don't know how it's going to go yet because I'm literally filming the day right now. I want it to be more of like a live format, nothing hidden from you guys. So let's head to the gym. I want to answer a question that I would have if I was watching these videos. And my question would be, how are the games out there? First, let's start with the rake. I think as poker players, it's very important that we pay attention to rake structure and we don't give casinos money that have poor rake structure. It's our job to do that. Where I'm from, it's a $20 rake structure and people still show up and play. That's why the casino keeps it at $20. Let's stop showing up. At the Seminole Hard Rock, they have, for 2-5, they have a $6 rake structure, 10% of the pot, and they take $3 for high hand jackpots. So the high hand jackpots is pretty much like a rake back structure. So you can essentially say their rake is around $6 to $7. Game quality. The 2-5 games are pretty good, and each table might have around 3 to 4 recreational players. Not bad for an 8-handed table, but I've played at better spots for that. How does the casino's staff run the games? How efficient are they? 10 out of 10. The casinos run flawlessly. I've never really had to wait more than 20 minutes to get on a table. They're constantly opening new games. They have unlimited dealers and unlimited staff, so no problems there. Food, they give you $2 an hour in comps. Pretty good. Do I want to wake up and go to the gym every single morning? Do I want to come back and cook my food every single morning? Do I want to wash the dishes every single morning? Do I want to have to take all my laundry to the laundromat every single week? Do I want to study every single day? No, of course not. I try not to think about it and just keep moving because I know if I stay consistent, one day I'll have someone to cook for me. One day I'll have someone to do my laundry for me. One day maybe I don't need to study anymore because there's money in the bank account and I have other business ventures that I'm getting into. These are all things that I want in the future, and I know that I need to go through the struggle now if I want to live that lifestyle that I want to live when I'm older. Another thing too is there's never really any traffic out here. It always takes me around 10 minutes to get here, and it's a 10-minute drive. Always consistent. Stay close to the casino. I'm gonna be buying in today for $1,000. Gonna be playing the 2-5 no limit. See you at the table. All right guys, we finally made it to the poker section, and first we looked down at pocket kings, but it folds to us. In blind v blind, we just like to chop here, so that's what we do. Pretty unfortunate. In our first playable hand, very next hand, we look down at 9-10 offsuit, and we're on the button. There's a recreational player who limps for $5, and I'm gonna ISO here. Since he limped from early position though, I'm not gonna make it as big of a sizing. I go $20, and he makes the call. So heads up, we're headed to a flop, and it comes out the 9 of hearts, the 5 of hearts, and the king of spades. He checks it over to us, and I go for a half pot bet of $20 pretty quickly. He looks it over, thinks about it for a bit, and then grabs chips, not to call, but to raise. When recreational players check raise in these spots, it's usually pretty strong, but on this sort of board texture, he doesn't really have too much value in his range. He wouldn't limp pocket nines. He might even raise pocket 5 sometimes pre-flop, and we block king 9 suited. And there's only 2 combinations left of king 5 suited. There's way more flush draws, so I make the call. We're headed off to a turn, and it comes out a pretty clean card. It's the jack of spades. The only thing that kind of sucks about this card now is that he could have had some combo draws that now hit a pair. So now I'm just hyper focused on his bet size. What size will he choose? And that will probably tell us a lot about his hand strength. He goes for a sizing of $120. Not only that, but the way that he placed his chips in the middle, he placed them in a very neat fashion and he slammed them down. That's a huge live tell for him being bluff heavy here. It's something that I learned when I was younger. When people place their chips in a very neat fashion, it's usually a bluff because they don't want it to look too messy. I don't know. It's just something I learned from a video when I was like 19 years old. But we're gonna take that live read here, and we're gonna take the fact that he's not gonna be betting a jack either, and make the call one more time, especially since now we have a straight draw. Headed to the river, hoping to fade a heart, and it comes out a pretty perfect brick. It's the 3 of diamonds. He thinks about it for a bit. He kind of looks at me a little bit. He looks a little nervous actually. He's like looking at his chips, looking at me, deciding what he wants to do. It almost looks like he has no idea what he wants to do. And then ends up just making a snap decision to throw all his chips in the middle. $265. I honestly don't think about it for too long, and I just make the call because I'm getting such a good price at this point and everything missed. And he flips over 10-7 of hearts. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music to our ears. It's rare when you catch a recreational player bluffing, but this is one of those moments. And I just want to say a big thank you to whoever made that video on the chip bluff read back in the day, because that just got us paid $500. I look down at king 5 of clubs. There's a player in the low jack who limps, so I'm gonna ISO him here, and I make it $20 to go. The cutoff calls and the limper comes along as well. So we're headed 3 ways to a flop, and it comes out the 9 of clubs, 6 of spades, 3 of clubs. So we flop a king high flush draw here. It checks to me, and I have 2 options here. I can either check or bet. I think playing check here is a little bit better because this is not a board that's going to favor my range too often, and the in position player could always put out a bet himself, and check raising is going to do the job of getting him to fold quite often here. And my hand could also be disguised as well, as these players probably don't think I'd check a flush draw on the flop. So I go for a check, and it checks around. So we're headed off to a turn, and it's beautiful. It's a 6 of clubs. So we make a flush. The limper, he bets $75 from the low jack. It's on us. I have a couple options here. I could raise, but I think this is gonna look a little bit too strong, but it also could look a little weak since I checked the flop. But I'm gonna decide to just call here, as I would probably do this with my ace king and ace queen offs, or any sort of ace X with a club in it, as I would have the nut flush draw. Cutoff makes the fold. So now we're headed off to a river, hoping for a brick, and it's pretty much a brick. It's the 4 of hearts. Same player, he now bets $75 here, which is a pretty small sizing now compared to the size of the pot. I don't think he has a flush. I don't think he has a straight. He could still have a 6 though, and that's what we're gonna target here to try to get value from. So I make it $400, hoping that he smells a bluff since my line doesn't really make too much sense. But unfortunately, he doesn't like the sizing, and he flips over queen 9 of spades and makes a fold. All right guys, I added this hand in, not so much for the action, but more so for the camera angle. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this in the comment section, where you can see my face and the cards. I thought this was pretty cool. It was a new feature that I saw on the iPhone, so I gave it a try. I made it $15 to go here, and we end up getting called by one player and headed off to a flop. It comes out low card, low card, low card. Pretty connected board too. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the rest of this hand is pretty straightforward. We just check it down to the river and end up chopping versus ace queen. Alright guys, back to the action. We look down at pocket kings here, and pretty solid hand I'd say. UTG +1 opens to $20, and we're in middle position here. This guy's a pro. I make it $65 to go. He ends up making the call, so we're headed off to a flop, hoping to fade an ace. We don't fade the ace. It's a horrible flop. It's the ace of clubs, 6 of hearts, jack of spades. He could have pocket sixes, he could have pocket jacks, he could have ace jack suited, he could have ace king, ace queen. This is just an awful board, but it's still a board that's going to favor our range. So I'm going to go for a range bet of $45 here. And he ends up making the call. So we're headed off to a turn, not really looking to put any more money in this pot. It comes up the 9 of spades, and he checks it over to me again, and I check it back. River, 9 of hearts, brick. He checks it once more, and I have an easy check back, and we end up beating 7-8 of spades. So he flips over 8 high here. He did think about it for a bit on the river if he wanted to bluff or not, decides not to. I probably would have folded depending on what size he went. Thank God he didn't. We pick up this nice little pot. In this next hand, I'm in the hijack with king jack offsuit. I make it $15 to go. Cutoff player makes the call, and big blind defends as well. So we're headed off to a flop. The board runs out king 7-7 with 2 clubs. So flush draw board, big blind checks, I check, and the in position player ends up betting $30. Big blind makes the call, and the action's back on us. This is exactly why it's good to check some of your top pairs sometimes, especially when there's an in position player to you, because you don't want to just have to fold all your hands when they bet. So when the action's back on us, I make it $125 to go here, basically saying that I have a strong hand. I think the big blind would have raised his 7x on the flop, given he's a pro. So I actually think I have the best hand here quite often. I want them to fold all their weak flush draws, as I don't think that they continue betting them on the turn, and I don't think they bluff them on the river that often. So I'd rather them just fold those now to deny the equity and potentially just get called by the ace-x of clubs hands or weaker king-x. But they both end up folding their hand, so we're going to take down this small pot.
The table. Oh my God.
I'm in the small blind and look down at 7-8 of spades. There's a button straddle, and she goes by the name of Big Salami. I'm not going to be raising many suited connectors from this position, but this is one of them, and I make it $30 to go. Middle position makes the call, and Big Salami comes along as well.
Busy. What's going on?
I'm sure a lot of you poker players knew who I'm talking about, as she's very famous in the poker scene, and I'm sure you could hear her voice right there. Not a bad flop for us. It comes out 10-8 deuce rainbow. Flop checks around. Headed off to a turn, and it comes out an offsuit 9. I go for another check. Middle position checks. Big Salami bets $50. I make the call with my pair plus straight draw, and the middle position player gets out of the way. So now, headed off to a river, looking for a clean card, maybe even a straight, and it comes out an offsuit 3, so it's a pretty perfect card for us. And I go for another check, and she snap checks it back. Not really interested in this hand. I'm gonna take it down, and she's going on a little table change. Shout out to Big Salami, you're a fan favorite, and congrats on making the vlog. There's an OMC who limps middle position. There's another limp to my right. I'm on the button and look down at 6-5 of clubs. I'm gonna ISO here, and I go $30. The OMC has been limp folding to ISOs around 75% of the time, so I'm gonna be doing this pretty wide here. And this hand is definitely good enough. This time though, they both end up making the call, so we're headed off to a flop. It comes out the jack of diamonds, the 5 of diamonds, and the 9 of clubs. So we flop bottom pair with a backdoor straight draw or backdoor flush draw. It checks to me, and I go for a range bet of $30 just to see where I'm at. And the OMC ends up making the call, which is not great for us because he's probably got some sort of strong range here. He can even have a hand like pocket queens. And the other player ends up folding his hand. The turn comes out the 8 of hearts. He thinks about it for a bit and then checks it over to me as if he didn't want me to bet. I tend to analyze every single motion that my opponent does, so when he does that I think it over for a bit to see what that means, but end up checking it back. The river comes out and it's a board pairing 5. So we hit trips. Pretty beautiful card for us. We're actually going to be ahead pretty often here now. But the OMC ends up betting $65 pretty quickly. And this is actually a pretty big sizing for him. If he puts in this much money, it usually means he has something. But what does he have? Do we beat any of his value here? I'm not sure. I don't even think he'd bet ace-jack here, especially for this sizing. So he's actually repping somewhat of a strong hand. He could have pocket 9s, he could have queen 10 suited, but in hindsight, we have trips, and as much as I don't like this, I'm not gonna end up folding my hand, so I make the call. I feel like I nit rolled him though, because he ends up showing me king queen offsuit. I'm especially shocked that he's bluffing me specifically too, because we had a nice little chat and conversation the other day, and he seemed like a really nice guy. I didn't think he was capable of bluffing, and especially against me, but I gotta respect it. I'm gonna under the gun +1 and look down at 6-7 of hearts. I'm not gonna be raising many suited connectors, but again, this is one of them here, and I make it $15 to go. It folds around to the big blind player, who's a tighter recreational, and he 3-bets here to $55. As deep as we are, and with a suited connector that's not gonna interfere with his range much, I'm gonna make the call here to try to beat his aces, kings, queens, and ace-king. We're headed off to a flop, hoping for some low cards, but that's not what comes. It's king 3-6 rainbow with 1 heart. He c-bets for $100 here, and even though we have some equity, I know he's gonna keep bombing the turn. So for this sizing, I'm just gonna let go of my cards, even though we have some backdoor equity and it sucks to fold here. If he went like 75 or less, I would have for sure made the call. I'm gonna under the gun this hand, and I look down at pocket kings. Amazing. I'm making $15. Recreational and +1 makes the call to my left, and the big blind comes along as well. So we're in a 3-way pot here. The flop comes out, queen 10-5. The big blind checks, and this is a spot where I'm gonna do a lot of range betting, but I'm also gonna be checking sometimes, and especially when there's a player in position to me. So this time I go for a check. I don't love the check, but since there's a pro in the big blind, I think playing my hand a little bit more tricky sometimes here can get paid off on future streets. The in-position player checks it back, so we're headed off to a turn, and it comes out the jack of clubs, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. Big blind checks again. I actually go for another check here, given that I feel like if I just bet, ace-king is gonna be the main hand. They're gonna put me on a lot and just fold. So I check it over, and the in-position player bets $25 here. The big blind folds. So when it's back on us, this is not a great board for me. They can have a lot of 2 pairs still here, but given he bet so small, I think I for sure have the best hand, and I at least have some backdoor equity. So I make it $100 to go here, and he ends up just letting go of his cards quickly, so I guess he had nothing. In this next hand, I'm in the cutoff. Under the gun limps for $5. I limp for $5 as well, and the button player makes it a small sizing. He goes to $15. That's too small. Small blind calls, big blind calls, limper calls, so I call as well. Headed off to a flop. It comes out the 3 of spades, the ace of hearts, and the king of spades. It ends up checking around. The turn comes out and it's the 6 of spades. So now this flush draw comes in, and the small blind leads out for $15. He's a recreational player who came in with $400 in his stack. Doesn't really look like he knows too much about the game. It folds to me, and given that he bet so small and the pot is actually pretty decently sized, I think raising here is just gonna print money. I think I'm gonna take down the pot very frequently. So I go to $85. And to my surprise, the button player, who's also a recreational, makes the call. And this is someone who I would assume would jam a flush here, given how he's been playing so far. Small blind actually gets out of the way. The river comes out, and it's a brick. It's an offsuit 9. He's got around $400 left in his stack, and I actually think jamming here is gonna win 100% of the time. I think he has a ton of hands like Jack X of spades, Queen X of spades, that just had a naked flush draw and wanted to see if he hit it on the river. This player has been doing some pretty wild stuff in terms of what he makes calls with on the flop and turn, and then just gives up and folds the river when he misses. So I think he's got a ton of that stuff. And he's also been scared money by putting his whole stack in. So when I jam, I'm expecting this to be one pretty often. And he looks at me, gives me a little smile, says, "Why so much?" and then folds his cards. Unfortunately, my phone ended up dying shortly after this, and I actually ended up playing two pretty big hands that were not caught on camera, and I'll just go over them super quickly. One of them I had ace king, I was on the button, I raised, big blind called, a regular. Flop was 5-6 deuce. He checks, I bet small, and he raised me here. And I just had a feeling that he was bluffing. I had a feeling that he's going to be doing this a lot here, and there's some other factors as well. I ended up calling flop to his raise. I called turn, and then he gave up river, and we won. I think it was around a $300 pot. And then the other one, I had a flush draw, same guy. It was a 3-bet pot, 3 ways, nut flush draw on the flop. He bets, I call, bets turn, I call, checks river. I'm not going to be bluffing with the nut flush draw missing. So I checked back and we lost. And the first pot was around like plus 300 for us, and the second one was around negative 400 for us. All right, guys, just finished up the session. Total of 7 hours of poker. I was in for $1,000, cashed out for a total of $24.19. So just over $1,400 in profit today. It's been going good. Finally, some upswing, and we're on track for our goal of being up 10 to 15K. We're not done yet. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep grinding. See you guys in the next one.